little of that.
Hey everyone, I'm here with Jeremy Wolf, and he's going to be at Awake Festival this September 16th through 18th. And we can't wait to be with you, Jeremy. And also, Solar Moon is your DJ name, and we got you for two things this year at the festival. Uh, just like last year, actually. No, this is the first year we get to have you do a set at night too at Awake Festival. So, gosh, there's a lot to cover here, but I kind of want to. Well, how are you doing, first of all?
I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
good. And I'm excited to be going back to Awake. So first off, thank you for inviting me back. Had a really good time last year. Just wonderful people and really nice energy. And it's nice to be in the foothills as well. You know, up out of the city is a little cooler. So yeah, I'm super excited to come back and glad to be offering some music this time too.
Yeah, this year we moved it 2 weeks earlier. So last year it was late September, early October. This year it's the second weekend in September, the 16th through 18th. So I think the weather is going to be like that perfect fall weather, a little cooler than down in the city. And maybe we'll even have some leaves changing on the aspen.
It'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember it got cool one of the nights there, or maybe all of the nights there. Got a little chilly. I think September is going to be perfect.
And this year we added camping too. So that's going to be nice. We have 20 to 25 spots on site. So those are going to be really valuable. And
it's at the same
scooping them up.
location?
Yep. So there's some nice grassy areas around there along a little stream. So the lucky few who sign up soon for the camping pass will get it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So what are you most lit up about lately? Like what do you think you'll be sharing with people? I know it's not for a couple months, but what's most alive for you and something you want to get out there to people?
Well, being that I'll be sharing a yoga nidra practice, which is, of course, one of my favorite teachings and practices to share, I'm super excited about that, but primarily because of its accessibility and I think also its relevance in our modern world, because we all need more rest. And, if we can couple deep healing with that rest or the capacity for transformation with that rest, through the techniques that the practice has facilitated, there's a way that we can start to have real tools and really simple tools to help us navigate just the adversity that we tend to experience on at least a weekly, if not daily basis, many of us. And, I like it because it's a tool that you don't technically have to go to a formal class for. You can do it on your own, which means you can do a recording any time of day. You can listen to a recording and drop into the practice. You can do it multiple times a day. You can do it in the moments that you most need it. And interestingly enough, a lot of the tools that I teach as sort of self-management tools, a lot of which have to do with breath and pranayama for managing stress, for just managing a world that's really challenging, and inability to sleep that might accompany that, inability to focus. A lot of the tools that I'll teach outside of the practice of yoga nidra fit in the practice itself and some of the systems and some of the approaches. So I feel like even though you get a practice called yoga nidra and you're like, wow, I can do this whenever on my own, you can also pull some of those tools out, like the breathing practices, which you can do before bed to help sleep, in your car as you're driving, waiting in line. So I feel like, there's sort of this whole package of things that you get. Not that you're totally aware for all of them necessarily, but there's this whole package of tools that you get that are really working to rewire your brain, your nervous system, and just your relationship, your cognitive relationship to the world. So I think it's very helpful, very potent, and very comprehensive.
Wow. So that's a lot that you just fit in a couple minutes of what you said. I mean, so it's like in the past, I've seen yoga nidra as something that you go and receive and it's facilitated, which is accurate. But I think what I hear you saying is inside of the package of yoga nidra with you, people are going to get some simple tools that they can do on their own as well. so they won't like be dependent on going to a class led by a teacher, and it can help them relieve their sleep issues. In the stressful world that we share, they're going to find ways to calm their nervous systems and actually rewire their brain, maybe so they're more resilient and more okay in this world. Did I get that right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, because I feel like that's what we need. We need more moment to moment tools. You know, it's nice to be able to go to a yoga studio and practice with the teacher and with the community. And I'm glad that we still can, or that we can again, you know, post the intensity of the pandemic. But we need to have moment to moment tools that we can apply when there's nobody else around, or when we can't seek out a teacher in that moment, for example, when we're at work, or we just have a quick break maybe from work. And so that's something I'm most interested in sharing with people now, is because it doesn't have to be complicated. You know, it doesn't have to be inaccessible. And I hope I can help people understand that.
So it's almost like I'm a therapist when I'm not running festivals, and it's almost like I want to work myself out of a job. So another analogy to that might be, so say people get themselves really worked up in life, they don't have a lot of tools, or at least they don't apply them, and they say need a massage every month, say like a um, the best thing that we could do though is, yes, we can give them temporary relief. Like you can go to a teacher or a facilitator and receive a wonderful practice and just exhale and let them take care of you for a beautiful yoga nidra class, which I've done with you. And though the underlying goal here is we want to help everyone get totally self-sufficient maybe, and integrate and learn their own tools, so that in each moment of life they're not like dependent on a teacher. Like it's wonderful to have a teacher care for you or a facilitator, but is that kind of what we're pointing towards a little?
Absolutely. You know, I think a teacher has their role for helping you progress, you know, over time. But I want to make sure people have a take home toolkit, you know, so they don't have to wait for that hour or 75 minutes, that they can actually meet someone formally to do the work. Because, you know, so much of it is just about self-management practices. And we don't want, you know, that's something I'm really trying to emphasize nowadays with some of the teachings that I'm sharing a lot, is that we don't want to have to keep it contained to a formal yoga practice, for example, that we want to start threading these things throughout our day, because they can make a difference. And they can make a much greater difference when we increase the frequency in which we're doing them. You know, and one of my teachers said that the role of a teacher is, of course, to bring out the potential in an individual. And I think that's not just in the context of growth and transformation, but even self-management and self-healing.
So it sounds like what we're working towards here is helping everyone to weave the practices, to learn the practices, get the feeling maybe that the practices provide, because that's direct experience. That seems really important to me. Like when I'm in your yoga nidra classes, it's way beyond words. It's a direct experience of what my brain feels like, what my nervous system feels like when I'm okay. And so I imagine you gifting us with those teachings to get us to that space of feeling. Then though, it's what can we take out and weave into our everyday life, so that we can maybe be in that space of okayness more.
Absolutely. You know, and to recognize that, you know, while we think of a formal practice as, you know, bringing us to a state of okayness, it's really revealing the okayness that's inherent, right? So, you know, helping people understand that they can do that, that there are certain tools and techniques they can use to reveal that sense of okayness more frequently.
So it's inherent. We are already inherently okay. Maybe sometimes, personally, I get caught up in this culture and stress or busyness or things on the news and don't feel so okay. But that doesn't mean a practice is making me okay. It's that revealing what's already there.
It's neutralizing the habit of practicing being not okay.
All right. Okay.
The unconscious practice for most of us of being not okay.
Okay. So all the this year at the festival, all the workshops are going to be about 75 minutes. So a big part of that will be yoga nidra, um, which is sleep of the yogis.
Yep, that's one way it's defined.
Okay, do I have it right that it helps to put your brain in a certain wavelength?
Yeah, because it induces a deep relaxation state. We spend most of our waking life, of course, in beta brain waves. That's what corresponds to problem solving and analysis and interaction and externally oriented activities. But we go into alpha brain waves, which is wakeful relaxation. And through the techniques, we can even descend into theta brain waves, which corresponds to dreaming, and even into delta brain waves, which corresponds to deep sleep. And one of the fascinating things about it is that not only can it happen pretty quickly, that we could enter the deep sleep state, but we can remain aware while being there.
Okay, so just to see if I got that, so people can get it. Beta is the brainwave where it's more external problem solving, everyday Western life. It sounds like alpha is a little bit more relaxed. Theta is like the dream state, and then delta is like deep sleep.
Mhm.
So if you get into some of those states through the practice of yoga nidra, what happens? What's beneficial about, besides the temporary feeling of like, oh my God, I feel so damn good. What's happening, because I know you just feel so peaceful and wonderful. And for hours after, you feel great too. But what's like happening? What's changing in the brain, or what's happening?
Well, lots of things. To try to keep it pretty simple, um, there's a dismantling of past associations to memory, imagery, stimuli, emotions. So there's this neutralization of conditioned reactivity, you could say, that's happening at the neurological level. Then there's also this disidentification process that's taking place, which is really synonymous with the shift that's happening. But it's that, normally in waking life, we're in a state of reactivity to whatever it is we're experiencing, whether that's our circumstances, our thoughts, our emotions, sensations in the body, uncomfortable sensations, whatever they may be. We're usually reacting to all of those things. But in the practice of yoga nidra, we occupy this posture of neutral attention, where we just allow everything to be as it is. And so there's this disidentification from these conditioned behaviors, beliefs, and even ways of perceiving, which is liberating and freeing. It's kind of like clearing the windshield so we can see things more accurately, less distorted by our past biases, traumas, fears, attachments, etc. And one of the going back to this idea that we talked about, which is you're already okay. That can be hard for people to grasp because we have a whole laundry list of reasons why, in fact, we're not okay, and perhaps why our lives are not okay. But there's a very deep and profound state of okayness that we access every single night in deep sleep. And it's when we essentially turn our attention away from our problems, our fears, attachments, all of that stuff that's creating the conflicts, perpetual conflicts in the mind, that we come to rest in our innate okayness, which is one of the reasons deep sleep is so freeing, it's so refreshing, it's so amazing. And when we awake from deep sleep, we feel renewed. There's a sense of clarity. And then for most of us, quickly the mind starts to get going and we start to remember all of the reasons for not being okay. Those are then overlaid on our experience to obscure that sense of okayness that we were just resting in. And one of the teachers that I studied with, he says that, we need to realize that absolute peace of deep sleep, that's the peace of our essential nature that the yogis talk about. And it's accessible all throughout the day. We don't have to go to deep sleep to get there. It's one of the ways that we do get there. And it's so essential, which is why we're designed to get there every single night and spend some degree of time there, but that it's just hidden in waking awareness, but we can start to learn to access it even as we move through our day. And I would say, that's largely what we're doing as we slow the brain waves down through practices of meditation and things like that, as we're starting to clear the agitation that's accumulated on the windshield. So, that okayness beneath it can start to shine forth.
Wow. So when I'm practicing as a therapist with people and they identify, say, as, well, I'll make it personal. Sometimes I identify as anxious Eric, or Eric has anxiety, or stress, or we're overly busy in this culture, or this happened in my relationship. It sounds like all those things, those problems, my job, whatever the thing is, what's up in the world. It's that so the windshield could be clear, but it's covered with all that stuff. And because we're putting our attention on that stuff, that's what we're seeing. And that's our life is a bunch of problems and stress and whatever. So when I go to sleep at night, and everyone can relate to this, I think if you have a bad day, you're like, oh, I'm just going to get a good night's sleep. It'll all feel different tomorrow. And I think most people can relate that when they finally get that great night's sleep, everything does feel different tomorrow. And it feels, so what I think I'm hearing now is why we love sleep so much. Those of us who are blessed to get nice deep sleep is because we're returning to our innate nature, which is free of all that BS. And we don't have to go to sleep to be in that, our essential nature. All it is through different practices. One is yoga nidra, or you mentioned meditation. We're just slowing our brain down to kind of reintroduce ourselves to that place that we already are.
Yeah, it's like we're practicing breaking the habit of being in constant identification with all that's accumulated on the windshield. So that we don't have to be unconscious, quote unquote, as we think of it as deep sleep, to experience that freedom. But it's really just it's a reorientation of our attention, a turning away, not ignoring our problems, but turning away so that as we turn back toward them, quote unquote, or really the circumstances that we're framing as problems, we can do so with that refreshed clarity that comes from a good night's sleep, or a yoga nidra practice, or a meditation practice, or some quiet time in nature, or however people access it.
So this solves the biggest problem I see in my seat as a therapist is so a relationship falls apart, you lose the job, pretty much all the impermanence. Life is impermanent, all these circumstances. So someone comes to my office usually in crisis because something in their life has fallen apart. That was their identity. And so many people don't know who they are without the external identity. And I can see why you've dedicated so much of your life as a teacher using yoga nidra as one of the main tools to help us reacquaint ourselves. I think, is this correct, that you're helping us, giving us tools and practices to know who we really are, so therefore we're okay no matter what happens in the external, maybe?
Absolutely. And to realize that it's really a very natural process. The fact that it's so important for us to experience that freedom and peace, that we do it every single night. And yoga nidra, you could say, is a methodology that gives us the ability to be aware while the onset of sleep happens. So while everything else is falling away, right? Everything on the windshield is falling away. What we realize is what's left when there's nothing obscuring that peace, and what's left is peace.
And that's who we are, you could say, maybe, is peace.
Yeah.
That sounds nice. So at the festival, outside of the traditional yoga nidra practice, or maybe it's part of it, what are the other parts that people will experience? I think you said pranayama will be part of it, or?
Yeah, we'll probably do some pranayama techniques as part of the pre-practices to prepare for yoga nidra. We might do a little bit of asana. But I always like to do a little bit of pranayama so that people at least have one thing that they can take away that they don't see as part of the yoga nidra practice. And so they can expect that, and probably a little bit of movement. It's helpful to release some of the physical tensions in the body to prepare for relaxation.
Great. That makes me think of another Asiana Harper, who one of my other favorite teachers who's coming. She's been doing every time I'm with her lately, she's doing lots of humming and sounds of all the different chakras. And that seems like one of those things. I did some humming today with a practitioner, and it just makes your nervous system instantly feel better. I don't know how else to say it.
So good. I love that she's doing that. Yeah, she's really great at that. Yeah, vibration is key. It's so helpful.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll do Brahmari is one of my absolute favorite practices. That's where you plug the ears and you hum. And you do that for a number of rounds. It's my favorite bedtime practice because it induces such a deep state of calm and tranquility that if I do that for as much as like 10 minutes, I'm usually crawling into bed, which is wonderful.
I can't believe you just said that. That's so funny. When I was younger, I think I had some anxiety as a little kid too. And I remember standing in the shower and I'd plug my ears and let the shower hit me on the head. And I would pretend I was in like the rain, and it would take over my whole system. And I just loved it. I wonder if I was
That's
kind of doing
awesome.
that a little bit.
Intuitively, you knew. You knew.
Yeah, it would make me feel so like peaceful. Yeah. So there's practices that will be done, right, that help us regulate our nervous system, get in our bodies, and then we dive into the yoga nidra. Roughly
Yeah.
is okay. And so that's one chunk, and that's during the day. But then at night, this year is similar to last year, but even better, which is cool to say. So last year we did our first year for Wake Festival. We did have conscious dance on Friday night with Sun Dragon Alejandro, and we had someone guide people to drop into their bodies and to just be able to get embodied and dance. It was wonderful. This year we're next leveling that. So there's, for those of you listening, there's a community that's been in Colorado for a long time, led by Ava Lene, and it's a rhythm sanctuary. And if you've heard of it, it's a static dance. It's a community that gets together once a week and has different DJs and different music. And it's a ceremony of getting in our bodies and moving and dancing and just accessing our true nature is how I would say it. And I invited Ava last year and she couldn't make it. And I just have been dying to get her there. And this year she said yes. So Ava, so we have Ava guiding us in this beautiful dance practice. And we're thinking of even integrating a cacao ceremony in the beginning and setting the container for the dance. And this year, Jeremy, as you also go by Solar Moon, is going to combine forces with Sun Dragon from last year, Alejandro. And we're going to have a beautiful rhythm sanctuary style dance on Saturday night at the festival. So with all that said, what do you think people will get out of a static dance if they haven't done it before? Or what do you like to bring to your sets as a DJ for that space?
Yeah. Well, first I'll say I'm super excited to be DJing with Sun Dragon to create the soundtrack for the journey. He's a dear friend of mine, has been for a couple of decades, and we love collaborating, but it's pretty rare when it happens, in fact. And so I'm really glad it's happening. And Ava's Rhythm Sanctuary it's my favorite place to DJ because the magic that happens there when people get in their bodies is that there's this amazing celebration of life. And it's really spectacular. So I don't make it as often as I'd like to on Thursdays for that dance. But what I think people can expect is, Sun Dragon also has yoga training background, and he's an anatomy guru as well. And we both have a love of being in the body. We both have a love of dance. We both have a love of music and a love of yoga. And so I think what we're going to bring is a very intentional journey to help people start slow to get in their bodies, even to think of, a lot of people at this festival might be yoga practitioners. and they might think, well, free-form movement, I like the structure, I don't feel comfortable with free-form movement. But there's really no way to screw up. As long as you're listening to the music, I think, our intention is that we're going to keep it very organic, but build the energy to help people move into a place of introspection, but also external connection with others. And that's the great thing about being in a group of people that are in a happy state or moving toward a happy state, right? They may be moving through something, and when that thing is relieved, then the happiness comes forth, or the music lifts them up, or whatever it is. But Ava sets a really strong intention for the dance, and just has really potent words for helping people understand the transformational quality of dance, and moving with the music, and that it doesn't have to be structured. And sometimes at the dances, people will sit there and meditate at times. Sometimes people will do some stretching or formal yoga poses, and a lot of people are just jumping around, sometimes screaming, and it's just really wonderful. It's just wonderful to see that, to just break out of our mold and sort of dissolve some of those social boundaries, where we can just be in this language of music that so many humans are so moved by. So I'm super excited to help curate that experience.
I'm confident that's going to be one of the do not miss experiences at Awake Festival this year. And what I love about it, when I do go to Rhythm Sanctuary, like you said, we'll do that at Awake as well. We'll make sure to set up some areas where there'll be some meditation cushions and some like closed off little areas where people can go and just do their thing and then come back and dance if you like. And I would love to share that. When I went to grad school, of all my classes to become a therapist, my favorite was an elective, and it was just movement, free movement. And I was like, well, this is an easy A. I'm psyched to do this. But it was the most favorite class because all the facilitator did was give us permission to move however the heck we wanted to. And I remember thinking very clearly, I love yoga. I love all the asana, but it was so much different to be completely free to move however I wanted, because it seemed to align my being with the truth of presence or peace or whatever we really are. There was nothing blocking me from being in alignment with who I really am, I guess, just completely peaceful and embodied. So
well said.
Yeah, so let's do that. That'll be fun.
Let's do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on board.
Yeah, you are. Oh, I'm so blessed to have you. So wow, this is going to be a great year for Awake. Can't wait.
I'm excited. Thank you so much, Eric.
Yeah, is that a good place to land for now?
I think so.
Okay, well, have a good night. And everyone that watched, we love you, and we'll see you at the festival. Awake Festival is September 16th through 18th, outdoors mostly, here in beautiful Evergreen. So we'll get your tickets soon and get camping if you can. All right.